When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite, looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Warning, creators of this game do understand the subject matter may be offensive to some, but they do honor the families and people that have been affected by these real-life tragedies that these individuals have caused. Want to play a game?
Oh, yeah!
Lover of true crime?
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, we got an interesting game for you to check out.
Wow.
With the mashup of influences such as horror movies, collecting cards, and RPGs.
What?
Led to giving birth to an incredible creation of this game, Killers, the card game.
You are all my children now.
This game is a collectible trading card game featuring some of the most infamous killers, with tidbits of trivia on the back of each card to help you learn some insight to each criminal.
Who the hell are you?
Let's not forget, during the game, cops will be chasing you and these criminals.
I'm a cop, you idiot!
However, check out their website listed through all social media today, which can be found under Killers, the card game.
Am I on the internet?
I want to play a game.
Hi, this is Yan Birch, better known as the Stairmaster from People Under the Stairs, and you are listening to Crazy Train Radio. Rock on!
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, childrens of all ages, actually looking forward to this one because I was supposed to connect with him a couple weeks ago, but didn't work out scheduling because of personal stuff, but that's here and there. He is actually known for, when I mention his name to show fans, People Under the Stairs, but he's actually got a new thing going on, coming out on 9/19, Beneath Us All, Mr. Yan Birch. How you doing, sir?
Very, very well, thank you, and thank you so much for having me on.
We
really appreciate it.
Of course. So we'll start there with the new deal.
Yeah.
Beneath Us All. 9/19, you play Fry. So what can you say on this particular project?
I'm allowed to say quite a lot, I think, on this one.
It's an independent, correct?
Yeah, it's an indie, and it's actually designed with AMPTP's old contract. So it was all done and finished and being released. So, with all these strike rules, I think we are about to, we're allowed to promote. It's not tied to any kind of studios as of yet. So it's going to be a desk pop entertainment release, which was the same release as Harley Wallen, the director's last film. And it was the first time he used this distribution company. They're quite fairly new, but the executives all come from really big studio affiliated companies doing an independent distribution arm. And Ash and Bone has done extremely well. I was not in that movie. I was supposed to be in that movie with Harley, but the scheduling didn't work. So I'm actually committed to Ash and Bone 2 because Ash and Bone was so successful. But in between that, we were able to shoot Beneth Us All. And Beneth Us All actually was shot, right before the COVID really hit. So we started to wear masks on set, but there was no SAG rules yet. So we were lucky that we got that one done, I think. It's to go to the story. Okay. People that know me know that I'm Swedish, Scandinavian, born and raised. And Harley Wallen, the director, Swedish, Scandinavian, born and raised. And now we've been collaborating on 5 or 6 projects since 2017. And he called me and he said, hey, this is what I wanted to do for a very long time. I wanted to do a vampire movie in the old style of Bram Stoker. At the same time, I wanted to touch on my heritage. So he said, I have a Viking vampire for you. And you're the only one who can play the Viking vampire, in my opinion. So I'm like, hey, send me the script. I'm all for it. So we shot this thing nights only. It was a tough shoot because my part is very physical. It starts 1,200 years from now in the Viking times, year 900 something AD. And, I can say as much as, the Vikings chased me down. I was obviously infected by something. I wasn't really aware of what was going on. They put me in a coffin and sailed me over to Newfoundland, which is, the original discovery of America with Leif Erikson that we don't celebrate. 500 years later, Columbus got the credit, but he kind of copied that aspect and sailed over here and buried the coffin on this land. So now, flash forward to present time. Some kids are playing in the forest and discover something extraordinary. And that's as far as I can go. So it starts at 1,200 years from now and jumps into present time. And obviously, so I'm like a Viking vampire now, spend, 1,200 years in a coffin. And I'm popping up and shit's happening.
Now, obviously, 2 things with that is when I think Vikings, and obviously that would be in the region that you're from, Sweden and all that stuff, but I think of the Minnesota style Vikings, that the big burly type of Viking, if that makes sense, where you're blonde, blue hair, all that stuff, because of your background. But you got me intrigued because you're not like you're a bulky guy, you're a taller guy, but you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're not that 300-pound sword waving.
Yeah, exactly.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, but in the Viking times, if you saw the show Vikings and then you saw the other show they had on there, the Viking theme has been quite popular here in the last 5-10 years.
Exactly.
There's a lot of normal people. I mean, it's not normal statues. We're tall. I give you that. We're always tall, but everybody doesn't look like a WWF wrestler, You know what I'm saying? We got the blonde, but we also got darks. And I think the show Vikings did it really well when they mixed a lot of brown heads with the blondes. And we definitely are bigger in average than the rest of the world. but everybody's not wrestler type body or bodybuilder type body. But so to play this, I think more of the standard structure of a regular body, but still being a Viking, I think gave it even more flavor, because you see this guy might be a farmer in the Viking times. He might not have necessarily been a warrior even, and because we don't really find that out. But he got infected, and all of a sudden, 1,200 years later, he's
shit's hitting the fan.
He's morphing into something else. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
it's the old style vampire movies where I think Harley's favorite vampire movie is 30 Days a Night. So he wanted to do something with 30 Days a Night / a monster movie, or creature movie, I should say, without overdoing it. So I'm going through as far as I can, as much as I can say, I'm definitely going through a transformation, kind of like what Gary Oldman did in Bram Stoker's.
Okay,
there is a transformation happening, and it goes more into the creature mode. Which, if you can see the poster, it's a full-blown creature mode, but that's not the half the movie is not like that. It's more of a normal person, not really knowing what happened to me, and getting to know this present time, which is very, very weird and different and strange to this character. So you get a lot of emotions. You just you don't get just bloodlust and killings like a lot of other regular standard run-of-the-mill vampire movies. We get a lot of emotion. You get a lot of expressional emotion from the character, not really knowing what's happening, and then going through this transformation, and then you'll see owning himself, so to speak. It's quite a journey I took. It was very physical, night shoots only, 100 degrees in Michigan, so I couldn't really sleep during the day because it was too hot. And then we shot all night. So I mean, I came back after 2 weeks of nights, and I have to more or less rest for a week. I mean, it was a very physical role to take on. I have to say.
Well, certainly be on the lookout for that. But from what you're telling me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jan, would you say this fits into more of a smart horror movie, like a la The Shining, which I know is more up your alley than the blood and guts and all that fun stuff?
Definitely. You get into the mind of the so-called monster, because you see him as a human being to begin with, not really knowing he's just more or less an animal out of place in the beginning, because he is human, but he feels more like an animal more and more, and then the mindset takes over, and he becomes that really, like most vampires are extremely intelligent, because they take all what they learned from the past with them in the present time, and they catch up really fast. You've seen that in most, even Interview with a Vampire, how they actually gain more intelligence because they live so long. And I think even being in a coffin all this time, when he finally realizing what's going on, he's even the hormones or whatever is happening with the body is just creating this different character or different being, which is a mix between the two. He's a mix between the animal world and the human world all of a sudden, but he's as smart as hell, I have to say. Excuse my language, but
no, you're fine.
I think that is a really good description. It's not blood and guts. It's not The Shining. It's somewhere in between. It's not 30 Days a Night, and it's not Interview with a Vampire, but it's somewhere right there in between, I think. And it has the kids in it, and they have their emotional, and has some great performances by the other actors in the movie. And I have to mention this. This is the first time that myself and Sean Whalen from People on the Stairs playing Roach, are together on the screen since 1991. So just that, 32 years apart, and now we are actually starring in the same movie. I think just that is the biggest marketing pitch I can do, because he's doing an absolutely unbelievable, fantastic job as the character he's playing. He's playing a abusive foster dad, and he's doing it hands down, 5 stars from me. And then his wife, played by Maria Olsen, another horror legend. They both of them are doing such a good job that I knew I had my job cut out for me when I got in there, because they were there a week ahead of me, and then we did a lot of my stuff. And I think me and Sean had one day together, and then, you know, I'm not telling you what happened, but then he was done. And but you know, the result, to see his performance and Maria's performance, and Danielle Kama, the lead female actress, there was the best thing I've ever seen her do. And I have done several films with her now. She's a Michigan local. You know, she's really growing into herself. Angelina Danielle Kama is the full name, to be very accurate. So I like I said, I worked with her before. I was to be very honest, like we are in these shows, I was a little concerned. 17-year-old, a couple of movies under her belt, and this role was quite a task for her, reading the script. And if her character does not work, if her character is not real or authentic played, then my character does not work, because it's between her and I. It's like in People on Stairs was me and Brandon. In this one, I had the same relationship kind of thing story with her and with Angelina. And if that wouldn't have clicked, you know, I think you lose the movie. You know, it's the younger child. She's the one who found me in the forest, and you know, that was so vital to the story that was the only thing that concerned me, because she's grown. She's grown from movie to movie, but I did not know if she was ready for this, and I was happily surprised.
Well, that's good to hear. There's got to be a good yin to the yang to make whatever the project work. But I'm curious to know, and folks, I will put links for Beneth Us All for you to check out and such, where you can find it, all that fun stuff. But do you think the acting bug bit you because your dad being an actor, comedian, producer, director, jack of all trades, master of none type deal?
Definitely. I was 5 years old. He gave me a trumpet, and I started a musical academy, because he was also a jazz musician. In Europe, especially in the old days, but even when I grew up, an entertainer is an entertainer, an artist is an artist. It was never like you have to be this or this or that. So like the old, even over here, the old, you know, the Fred Astaire and the Dean Martins, they can sing, they can play music, they can act. That's kind of how I grew up. And my dad had this cabaret show, a la Benny Hill almost, over Sweden. And he was called Bob Hope of Sweden for a while. Very comedic. His comedy was his base, which is funny because drama became my base. So we had that difference. But music was the first part, and then acting. And I used to, I mean, this is just a side note, but in first, second, and third grade, I think I came to school, and for some reason, the way I remember it, we were always in the classroom before the teacher showed up, and I used to just run up to the front and do sketches while we're waiting for the teacher, and it was mostly comedic. You know, I pretended to do phone calls, and And, especially my dad was a little bit on the racy side, on the edge with, the Benny Hill stuff. And, Monty Python, Benny Hill stuff my father was doing. So I listened to him, and I come there as a 7-year-old, and I do those kind of jokes, trying to talk to, females on the phone being 7 years old. I think that was the start of my, I think I want to do this for the rest of my life thing. I had 9 pupils laughing, and I'm like, this is, it just felt very natural, very, this, everybody says this, but I felt like I was more or less, born into this is what I'm supposed to do. So.
What a question of that is, and obviously it's a different time, different place, but how much shit did you catch if the teacher walked in seeing you do what you do?
I did catch a lot of shit. Yeah. and one time I remember, and he was a big soccer player in Sweden at the time, but in Sweden in those days, in the 70s, whatever, then Swedish soccer was huge, but they were not professionals. They had other jobs. One of my PE teacher, or gymnastics stuff, he was actually a soccer player in the biggest team we had that was in the biggest league. And I walked up to him once. I said it I did it like a joke sketch with some people listening, and I slapped him on the ass as part of the joke. And I was suspended for 2 weeks on that one.
No, I can't see that happening. Not at all.
But for me, it was just part of a joke. For him, it was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Where could this go wrong at all?
Yeah, no. So yeah, I got in trouble quite a few times, but it didn't discourage me at all. Keep playing. I was more or less a little bit of a clown, I guess. But I got good grades, so you can be a clown and get good grades. More power to it, Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't slack in that department. Still, I knew how important it was, because my dad kept telling me you got to have something to fall back on, because he was a full-blown entertainer, and you never know what's going to happen.
Well, did Dad give you shit for getting in the times you did get in trouble?
And not really. Not when I heard why I got in trouble. Because I might have, a couple of times I got in trouble because I actually did one of his jokes in front of the class, and when they walked in, and they were not really for kids, they were adult jokes. So, but when I told him, he actually just got a kick out of it most of the time, actually.
Yeah, so he got it. So
yeah, he definitely got it.
Yeah, don't tell your mother. No.
No.
Don't tell your mother you said that.
Did you just say the F word?
Jew? No, he's talking about fuck. You can't say fuck in school, you fucking fat ass.
Kyle!
Why the fuck not?
Eric!
Dude, you just said fuck again.
Stanley!
Who?
Kenny!
What's the big deal? It doesn't hurt anybody. Fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck.
But you mentioned working with Sean, and you guys just did a reunion for People Under the Stairs, and obviously not going to dive too deep with it, but there's certain themes I think I find interesting that I heard you mention recently, and first one being that, and you probably seen this at that Jersey Horror Con, that it's such a spectrum of fans that have seen your projects. So what's that like for you to see kids who might not supposed to see certain things like Under the Stairs and such, or whatever the case may be, depending on, because obviously everybody's different. But what's that like for you, having a wide spectrum of fans?
It's amazing. I mean, I'm grateful. I thank the Lord every day. It's a weird. People on the Stairs in itself is a very how should I put this? It's a very different kind of movie. It's a very rare kind of film because it became the number one on the box office for 6 weeks in Hollywood, California, and released on Halloween '91. And it also became a cult movie. You usually get one or the other. You have a movie who might not even be in the theaters and become a cult movie forever, like the Slumber Party Massacre thing. It was in the theater for a while, but it's still a cult movie. But it was not number one. You know, People on the Stairs became a box office hit and a cult movie. And, you know, I'm surprised at every single con I've ever been to, how many people that come up to me that are, you know, in the 30s and 40s now, but said that they were like 5 when they saw it. They were 7 when they saw it. And we're talking in the 90s now. We're not talking in present time. So I was involved in this very special particular movie with a very special director that talked to a lot of people and had a political statement and was a horror movie with some comedy. And then at the same time, it was a movie that parents let their children watch. And I think one of the main things was because Brandon was the hero. You had a black little kid that was the hero of a movie. And that was one of the first, I think, that ever had that. And Wes Craven was just such a, I don't even know how to describe him in words, because he was such a special man, but he had such foresight about society as a whole. And he was able to make very entertaining movies with still, you know, declaring his view and his message on the world, you know.
When I think of Wes, I think of, because I grew up on Nightmare on Elm Street, and I was 3, 4, 5 years old in the late 80s, early 90s when I started seeing them, thanks to older cousins and things like that. But when I think about it now, I got a young niece and nephew that go through my movie cabinet. Can we watch this? Can we watch that? And it's like, you know, horror comedy, different things. It's like, no way in hell would I think of exposing them at 6 and 4 to, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a totally different mindset now to what you would expose them to. But when I think of when I think of Wes, I think of a man wise beyond his years, because like you said, there was always a statement, like with your movie was a horror comedy with a political statement, and there was some truth to it based on stories in the news that he always pulled from. And that was always fascinating to me when you think about the in-depth story besides the story being told on the screen.
Yeah, and you know, and on that note, to add to it, until Scream, Wes Craven dreamed every single screenplay he wrote, or every single movie he ever made. It was a dream. He saw this story about the people under the stairs, about this sister and brother slumlord couple in Santa Monica, California. It's somewhere in the 70s. I don't know, can't tell you exactly, but it was 75 or 76. It was a news story in the paper. And he said to me, it stuck with me, but I wasn't ready to write it until I dreamed it. And he said one morning, like in the 1990, 1989, whatever, he just woke up at 3 a.m. and he had the whole story for himself. He just dreamed the story through based on the newspaper article about, you know, the real, you know, based on the true events. And he finally, it took him almost 15, 20 years before he actually felt like he could write it. And that was through a dream again. And, you know, obviously Nightmare on Elm Street is all about nightmares. And, you know, if you think about it, knowing that he had all of those, it's amazing that he was such a character of love, such a human being of positive energy, and just an all-around good guy. It's amazing, you know, from the stuff that he writes, he's the complete opposite personality.
Exactly.
When you get to know him. Yeah.
And I think it was Robert Englund that said that he was, before he even met him, he was going to meet him, Wes we're talking about, he was thinking, like, if I have it right, like a David Lynch, kind of like this spooky gothic like character, but yet when you meet Wes and talk with Wes, and I never had the opportunity to, it was more like a college professor you were dealing with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And more of like on our cast, he was a father symbol. He was just the den mother of the whole production, and he was always calm. You know, if you ever been on a film set, there's always a lot of stress. And a lot of directors get stressed by the producer's stress, because the producers are the one who stress the most. The executive goes to the producers, blah, 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 blah. Wes was not playing into that at all. He knew what he can do. I don't know what he did on his earlier movies because I wasn't involved, but at least on People on the Stairs, he was just a grounded, very spiritually grounded guy who had something to say and made sure it was said the way he wanted it to be, no matter what. And I mean, I have a story on that people have watched our Q&As probably heard several times, but it's such a good story. So
Go for it.
I come into set every morning. I come into set because I had 6 hours of makeup in 6 weeks with creating the Stairmaster. And almost every day, Wes came in with new pages because my role just expanded, daily, which is, was another amazing thing with Wes, because he didn't really know what to do with the Stairmaster. The first script that was actually called The Big One. And then it just evolved into the Stairmaster. But I come into set one morning, my normal thing, going into the special effect makeup room and sit down. Everybody's running like rats or like ants or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, this is not, what's normally happening. I said, what's going on? What is happening? Everybody was stressing out, running. And even my makeup guy said, we're going to get you fast. We're going to get you nice. I got to get the best job ever, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, slow down. What's happening? And they said, well, the suits are on set. The suits are coming. The suits are coming. I'm like, what do you mean the suits are coming? Well, we're over budget. And Universal is coming to set. So everybody's freaking out. So because the producers and the executive producers were, especially the producers were on set telling everybody who's coming from Universal, and with such a stressful, I would say negative energy, but you know what I'm talking about, like this stressful, like what are we going to do kind of energy. It's funny to see how humanity works, because it just spreads like wildfire, and all of a sudden everybody's stressed. My special effect makeup artist, Mark Matry, one of the best ones in the world. He was always the calmest guy I've been known set. And he was also like, whoa, today we're going to be perfect, because his superiors from K&B told him the suits are coming, and everybody was stressed out and maybe they shut down the movie, we're going to get fired, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they were running around, and the only thing they couldn't find was Wes. And everybody was looking for Wes. And Wes and I had a few spots where we just hung out when it got, if it got tense, or if we just had to get away or whatever. So they kept asking me. I'm like, I don't know. But I took a break, and I'm like, I think I know where he's at. So I walked around Renmar Studios, and I took the fire ladder up to the roof, which is one of our spots. I come up on the roof, and it's a flat roof, and Wes is lying there with his hand behind his head, just watching the sky and the sun. And I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I'm waiting for them to leave so I can finish my movie. And that's Wes in a nutshell.
Definitely fits the character to the T. And it's like, at the end of the day, you were hired to do the job, let the people do the job. And obviously he was one of the best at what he did.
Yeah, he knew that what he created was going to be very well received. He was very confident at this point already. Maybe he went over budget a little bit, but you know what? He was number one in the box office. He made 6 times the budget the first weekend. So,
kind of did something right.
Yeah. I mean, I know he felt it at that point. We were more than halfway in. There was no way he was going to let them stir shit up. And everybody else got stirred up except the main man. And, I got to tell you, there's so many directors that I work with that probably would be affected. And maybe the movie wouldn't have been as good as it was, because if you do get affected by people that are screaming and yelling about speeding things up and spending less money, hey, you don't know what? The result might not be exactly what you want. If you feel that you know what you're doing, no matter what money you spend, as long as you don't got 10 times over, and he knows there's a few bucks over here and there, and he knows they're going to get it right back, he's going to still be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened here. Like, none of those executives that came screaming and yelling on set will admit that today, I don't think. Because they had a #1 movie.
Yeah, exactly. Final question for you, sir, and thank you for the time. Obviously, with your exposure to all the different mediums you've been involved with and your father and just everything, can you sit down and watch something or go to a theater or whatever the case is and not nitpick things? But if so, what do you find for entertainment? Are you a Netflix guy, or you go to a movies guy, musical, theater? What is up your alley that you like to enjoy?
I try not to be judgmental because you don't know the circumstances. Some films you see might not be the best performances, but you don't know what they went through. I mean, I have friends that comes back and say, hey, they shot all the rehearsals and that's all we had time for. And it looks like crap. I've done those films too. I'm not proud of it. So I try to not be judgmental in regards to quality, but I really enjoy, all around the spectrum. I love going to movies in the theaters. I watch Netflix, Paramount Classics, Amazon, Hulu, Tubi. I watch anything. I'm more for, in cable, I'm more for what the show, if the show's good or not. Like anything from Billions on Showtime to Succession on HBO to Netflix series and an Amazon series. I'm right now watching Ragnarok again, which I think is an amazing series on Netflix. They just released a new season, and it's because it does base it on Norse mythology in modern times. A Norwegian show. It's a brilliant concept because they make it in modern times, but they make it the gods between against the giants, which is the oldest Norse pagan mythology you can read about. It's when the giants were fighting the gods, and they made that in a present time scenario, and that appeals to me a lot. Of course. With my background and everything else, but overall, I get entertained by people who get into their roles and try to make something out of whatever they are presented with. If it's bland or categorized, like I have a show on Tubi called Tale of Tales, with also Holly Walling directing. It's the first season. I was unfortunately only able to be in the first 4 episodes because COVID hit. But on script, and no offense to the scriptwriter, Brett Miller or Holly, but my character was reading a little bland on the script. It was just this drug deal in a strip club on a whodunit crime thriller. So I looked at it and I'm thinking, what can we do here? This is a very, very dark series. So we need some comedic relief. So I, with Holly's blessing, I made him a 60s, 70s looking hippie, drug dealer in a strip club. And every time he shows up, you laugh. So, you paint your painting in a way you think it's going to be. And if the director agrees with you, you're the king of the world because you created something new.
There you go. Like I said, folks, the new deal is Beneth Us All, be out 9/19. Yan Birch, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey there, Friday fans. We know how much you enjoy the movies. Enjoy grabbing your Friday merchandise. in interacting with the Friday family, whether it be at conventions or during our particular watch-alongs. Well, when you're looking to get yourself masks, why not check out our friends over at Camp Blood Customs out of New York State and order your specific custom mask from any of the films. All orders are made specifically. Your needs and wants are. Make sure you find Camp Blood Customs on Facebook, Instagram, and all over social media and order yours today.
Hey y'all, this is Adam Marcus, writer and director of Jason Goes to Hell and Secret Santa, and you are taking a ride on Crazy Train Radio. Badass.